The sun never really rose above the orbital sanctuary. The light came in silver streams from distant stars, filtered through the transparent dome like soft water. It was always quiet here. Machines hummed gently, nurses moved slowly, and the stars seemed to hold their breath. Dr. Elias Corrin liked this quiet. He was a man who listened more than he spoke, who healed more than he questioned. His patients came from every corner of the galaxy. Some had bodies of metal and light, others skin like glass or stone. But pain was the same in every being. Pain, Elias had learned, did not care about shape or language. He had a gift. It wasn't a machine. It wasn't even something science could fully explain. Elias could pull pain from others. He didn't touch their wounds with tools, but with his mind. When someone was screaming in agony, he stepped close, took their hand, and their pain slid into him like a river. It didn't hurt him the same way. It lived inside him like a cold fire. But it made him strong in a way no one understood. It made him different. On the morning that changed everything, Elias walked through the shining corridor of the sanctuary. The silver floor reflected his steps. Nurses waved at him softly. A little girl from a blue-skinned race smiled at him as he passed, her leg wrapped in healing gel. "Morning." "Doctor?" a nurse called. "Morning," Elias replied with a small nod. Then the alarms began. They were not loud, but sharp. A red light blinked at the far end of the hall. "Emergency, Doc." "Incoming vessel." The glass at the end of the corridor shimmered as the doors to the landing bay slid open. A shuttle floated inside. It was black and shaped like a folded wing. Its surface was cracked, like someone had tried to crush it with invisible hands. The air shifted as med drones rushed forward, scanning the broken hull. Inside, one person lay still, a woman. At first, Elias thought she was human, but as he came closer, he saw it. Her hair was a smooth silver that moved like silk underwater. Her skin glowed faintly as if starlight lived beneath it, and her eyes, even closed, they shimmered softly. "She's alive," said a nurse reading the scanner, "but she's in pain. A lot of pain." "Bring her to Chamber 3, Elias said. His voice was calm, steady. They lifted the woman carefully onto a hover stretcher. Elias walked beside her, watching the medical monitor on her chest. The numbers were strange, unlike any species he had treated before. But one thing was clear: she was dying, slowly but surely. Inside Chamber 3, the walls glowed a soft blue. It was the color that calmed most species. Machines surrounded the bed like quiet guardians. Elias rolled up his sleeves and placed his hands near her head. "Who is she?" a nurse whispered. "No ID," another answered. "But her shuttle carried the seal of the Inari." Elias froze for half a second. The Inari, a race older than most civilizations, proud, mysterious, rarely leaving their own star systems. If an Inari was here, something was deeply wrong. "She's burning up inside," the scanner warned. "Pain levels off the scale." "Everyone out," Elias said quietly. "But out." They left. Elias stood alone with the strange woman. Her breathing was shallow. Her hands were clenched as if fighting invisible chains. He gently touched her forehead. It was hot, but not like fever. It was the kind of heat that came from something deeper, something alive. He closed his eyes, and he reached. The world around him faded. He could feel the rhythm of her pain, sharp and tangled like a storm of broken glass. It was not just physical. It was woven through her nerves like living fire. It wanted to stay inside her. It wanted to consume, but Elias didn't let it. He pulled. The pain flowed through his fingertips, along his arms, and into the deep corners of his own mind. It was heavy, almost alive, whispering things he could not understand. He did not fight it. He welcomed it, held it, and locked it away inside his soul where it could do no harm. Her body relaxed. Her breathing evened out. For the first time since she arrived, she looked peaceful. Elias opened his eyes and stepped back, breathing slowly. His body trembled slightly. The pain was inside him now, cold, strange, but quiet. He had carried worse before, but this felt different. The woman stirred. Her eyes opened. Elias froze. Her eyes were like galaxies, swirling with tiny points of light. She looked at him not with fear, but with a strange calmness, as if she could see more than what was in front of her. "Who are you?" she whispered in a soft, melodic accent. "I'm Elias, a doctor," he said gently. She blinked slowly. "You took it. No one has ever taken it." Elias didn't know what to say. "It's what I do." She stared at him for a moment that felt like an hour. Then, without warning, she reached up and touched his face with trembling fingers. Her touch was cool like starlight on winter glass, and then she leaned forward. Elias didn't move. He didn't even breathe. She pressed her lips softly to his forehead. It was not a human kiss. It felt like a spark leaping from one star to another, quiet, bright, endless. The air in the chamber shifted. For a second, everything was still. When she pulled back, Elias felt it. Something inside him had changed. A pulse, a thread, a voice not made of sound. It whispered in the back of his mind like a faint echo. "Why did you do that?" he asked, his voice quieter now. "It is how my people thank those who touch their soul," she said. But this was more. Her eyes closed again, but not in pain this time. In rest? Elias stepped away, still feeling that strange pulse in his chest. It wasn't like pain. It wasn't like fear. It was something else. Something warm. The door slid open behind him. A nurse peeked in carefully. "How is she?" "She'll live," Elias said. The nurse sighed with relief. "That's good news." She looked almost gone when she came in. Elias didn't answer. He walked out into the hallway. The stars beyond the glass seemed a little brighter. Or maybe it was his mind that was brighter now. That night, Elias couldn't sleep. He lay on his bed in his small, clean room. The ceiling light glowed faintly. His hands rested on his chest. The pain he had taken from her was still there, like a cold flame. But wrapped around it was something new, a quiet warmth, a heartbeat that wasn't his. Every now and then, he felt a soft echo. A thought, a feeling, not words but emotions. Fear, hope, curiosity. He sat up suddenly. "She's in my head," he whispered. The thought should have frightened him, but it didn't. It felt steady. He went back to the medical chamber to check on her. She was asleep, her breathing steady. The machines showed calm readings. But when he stood beside her bed, her fingers twitched gently, and the pulse in his chest grew stronger. The bond and whatever it was when it was real. The next morning, Elias met with the head of the sanctuary. "An Inari?" the director said, looking at the report with a frown. "This could bring trouble. Their people don't travel alone." "She's injured," Elias said calmly. "She needs care." "She also brings questions we don't want," the director replied. "Keep her stable, but do not get involved." Elias didn't answer. He already was involved. Later that day, when Sarai, that was the name she finally whispered, woke again, she looked at him as if she had known him forever. "You shouldn't have done it," she said softly. "What?" "Taken it, my pain. It wasn't only mine. It's older. It's alive." Elias felt the cold fire shift inside him. "What is it?" he asked. She closed her eyes. "Something my people cannot control. Something that kills everything it touches. I came here to find help, but I didn't expect you." Elias took a slow breath. "Then maybe I can help. You don't understand. If it wakes inside you, it will not just hurt you. It will spread." Elias met her glowing eyes. "Then I'll make sure it doesn't." She stared at him for a long time, as if trying to read the truth in his soul. Then she smiled faintly, a sad, soft smile that made the air feel warmer. "You're human," she said. "Always trying to save everything, even stars." He didn't reply. In the days that followed, Sarai remained in the sanctuary. Her strength returned slowly, but every night Elias felt the pulse in his chest grow stronger. And when she dreamed, he dreamed too. Strange visions of endless skies, tall silver cities, and a dark wave creeping across them like ink. He began to understand. This was no ordinary pain. This was the beginning of something bigger, and the bond formed by a simple, alien kiss was already pulling him toward a future he could not escape. That night, standing by the window of the orbital sanctuary, Elias looked down at the colony below. Millions of lights glowed like fireflies. Humanity was small compared to the vastness of space, but small things, he knew, could still change everything. Somewhere in the medical wing, Sarai slept, and in his chest 2 heartbeats echoed in quiet harmony. One human, one alien. Elias didn't know it yet, but this was how dangerous love began. Elias Corrin stood alone at the viewing window, looking at the endless dark sea of space. The orbital sanctuary floated like a bright pearl above the planet below. Down there were cities and people living normal lives. Up here, everything felt quieter and heavier. His chest ached, not like pain, but like something alive was moving inside him. The strange warmth from Sarai's kiss hadn't faded. It pulsed softly in rhythm with his heartbeat. He touched his chest. "What did you do to me?" he whispered, though she wasn't near. But somewhere in the sanctuary, as if she had heard, a faint whisper brushed across his thoughts. It wasn't words. It was a feeling, a warm, gentle, familiar. Like someone lightly touching his mind. He closed his eyes. Sarai. The next morning, the director called him into the main office. "We received a message from the Inari High Council," she said. "They want their envoy returned immediately." Elias straightened. "She's not fit to travel." "They don't care," the director replied sharply. "You know how they are, quiet, proud. They don't ask for help from anyone, especially humans. If she came here, it means something serious. But now that she's stable, they want her back." "She's still connected to me," Elias said softly. "The pain I pulled from her. It's inside me, I feel it. And there's something else. Something bonded between us," the director frowned. "That's not medical science, Elias. That's real," he interrupted calmly. She sighed. "Keep her stable until they arrive." "That's an order. Don't get involved." But Elias was already involved. In Chamber 3, Sarai sat on the bed, her silver hair shining in the pale light. She looked stronger than before, but her eyes held a deep weight. "You came," she said softly when she saw Elias enter. "I had to," he answered. "We need to talk about what's happening." She tilted her head slightly, a soft glow crossing her skin. "The bond is already forming." Elias moved closer. "What bond?" "When an Inari gives a kiss of soul, it is not only a gesture. It creates a thread between minds. Most of the time it fades in hours. But yours did not fade. Why?" She looked down at her hands. "Because you didn't just take my pain. You took it." Elias felt the cold ember deep in his chest flicker. "The thing you called alive." She nodded. "Yes, the Vera. It's not a disease like your machines think. It's a living energy that feeds on memory and emotion. It spreads through connections, through minds. My people have been fighting it for centuries, and now it lives in you." Elias stayed silent for a long time. "So I'm infected," he said finally. "No," she said softly. "You're different. It doesn't control you. It watches you. It listens." He took a slow breath. "And the bond?" "It's what keeps it asleep. It knows me. It fears me. Or maybe it fears you. I don't know." Elias stepped back, trying to steady his thoughts. This was bigger than anything he had ever faced. Bigger than medicine. Bigger than science. "Your people want you back," he said. "I know," Sarai whispered. "But if I leave, the Vera will wake inside you. It will spread through your mind like dark water, and from you to others." Days passed like quiet storms. Elias continued his work at the sanctuary, treating other patients, but everything felt different. At night, when the lights dimmed and the halls fell silent, he heard whispers in his mind. Sometimes they were Sarai's thoughts, soft and curious. Sometimes they were something else, something deeper. In his dreams, he saw a world made of glass towers and silver skies. He saw a dark wave rolling over the cities, swallowing the light. He saw Sarai standing in the middle of the storm, reaching for him. Every time he woke up, his chest burned a little more. One evening, he returned to her chamber to find her standing by the window. Her silver hair floated gently as if touched by invisible wind. "You feel it too," she said without turning. "Yes," he answered. "It's moving. Growing." Elias leaned against the wall. "What happens if it wakes?" "It spreads," she whispered. "It links to every bond I have ever made. And through me to my people, millions." He stared at her. "Then why aren't you afraid?" She turned to him slowly. "Because I trust you." Those words made his heart skip. Trust. He had heard that word many times in his work, from soldiers, from refugees, from the dying. But when she said it, it felt heavier. Real. The Inari ship arrived on the 7th day. It was not like human ships. It was silent, smooth, and bright like a falling star. It hovered near the sanctuary with quiet power. Inside the command center, the director said, "They'll be here soon. Let them take her. You've done your job." Elias looked through the window at the ship. His hands clenched slowly. Job. That word suddenly felt empty. In Chamber 3, Sarai sat calmly, her eyes glowing faintly. 3 Inari envoys entered. Tall, silver-skinned, their movements like flowing water. Their leader spoke in a soft but strong voice. "Envoy Sarai," he said, "we have come to take you home. The High Council awaits." She stood, but her gaze didn't leave Elias. "I am not ready." "You are needed," the leader said. "The Vera must not leave our world, and your bond with the human is a danger." Elias felt the pulse in his chest throb sharply. "I can help," Elias said, stepping forward. "I can contain it. I already have." The leader turned to him, expression unreadable. "Human, you do not understand what you carry. The Vera is older than your species. It destroys worlds. One mind cannot hold it." "Maybe not one mind," Elias replied, "but one human can fight it." A faint murmur passed between the envoys. Sarai smiled slightly, as if proud. The leader finally said, "The council will decide. You will come too." The journey to the Inari world was silent. Elias stood beside Sarai inside the shining ship, feeling the bond pulse like a second heartbeat. She didn't speak much, but sometimes he caught glimpses of her thoughts. Memories of bright cities, endless stars, and fear buried deep under calm. "Are you afraid?" he asked softly. She shook her head. "Not of the Vera, of what the council might do." He looked out at the stars. "Then we face it together." She glanced at him. "Humans are strange." He smiled faintly. "I get that a lot." When the ship landed, Elias saw the Inari homeworld for the first time. It was breathtaking. Towers like silver trees reached toward the sky. The air shimmered faintly as if full of starlight. Rivers of glowing water ran through the streets. Everything was silent, but not dead. It was the silence of a world that spoke without words. But beneath the beauty, there was something else. A shadow. He felt it immediately. The Vera. It moved beneath the city like a living storm, pressing against the edge of his mind. "This is where it began," Sarai said quietly beside him. "And this may be where it ends." The High Council Hall stood at the heart of the city. It was round and glowing, with a ceiling open to the stars. 7 Inari elders sat in a circle, their eyes like distant galaxies. Elias stood in the center with Sarai. The bond pulsed stronger than ever. The eldest counselor spoke. "Human, you carry the Vera. You should not still be alive." "I guess it doesn't like my mind," Elias said. Trying to keep his voice steady, murmurs filled the hall. "The bond must be broken," the counselor said. "It is dangerous." "You are dangerous." Elias looked at Sarai. Her eyes were calm, but he could feel her fear through the bond. "If you break it," she said, "the Vera will wake. It will spread through me to the entire lattice." The counselors fell silent. "Then what do you suggest?" one of them asked. Elias took a deep breath. "Let me face it. Whatever it is, I can contain it. I can fight it," the eldest frowned. "Humans are fragile, maybe," Elias said, "but we're stubborn, and we don't give up." A quiet ripple passed through the council chamber. That night they kept Elias in a small guest room with a wide view of the city. Sarai stood at the door looking uncertain. "You don't have to do this," she whispered. "Yes, I do," Elias said softly. She moved closer. "Why?" He met her glowing eyes. "Because if I don't, everyone you love dies, and everyone I love after you will too. I can't let that happen." Her eyes softened, and through the bond he felt her heart, a strange, beautiful rhythm unlike his own. "Your kind is dangerous," she said quietly. He smiled. "We get that a lot too." She touched his hand gently. The bond flared like a warm flame. For a moment everything else, the council, the Vera, the shadows, disappeared. There was only the silent connection between two souls. Outside, deep beneath the shining city, the Vera stirred like a sleeping beast. It could feel them now. The human who dared to hold it. The Inari who shared his bond. The storm was coming, and Elias Koren was ready to stand against it. The night on the Inari homeworld was unlike any night Elias Koren had ever seen. The sky wasn't dark. It shimmered with quiet silver light, as if stars were painted on glass. The towers of the city glowed softly, and the rivers of light reflected the heavens like calm water. It looked peaceful, but beneath the surface something dangerous was awake. Elias stood on the balcony of the small room the council had given him. His hands rested on the cool rail. His heartbeat pulsed stronger than usual, and with every pulse, he felt it, the Vera, shifting deep inside his chest like a silent wave. Through the bond, Sarai's presence touched his thoughts like a warm breeze. Elias, so you're not alone. He closed his eyes. He could feel her heartbeat somewhere across the city. Her emotions too, soft fear, quiet strength, a light that had kept her alive this long. He whispered to himself, "We'll end this." The next morning, the High Council summoned him to the Grand Hall again. 7 elders sat in a glowing circle, their faces calm but their eyes sharp. Around them, 100 other Inari had gathered. There was no shouting, no anger, only silence and watchful eyes. "The Vera is restless," the eldest counselor said. "It moves beneath the city. Our people feel it." Elias stepped into the center. Sarai walked beside him. Their bond pulsed like a single heartbeat. "It wants me," Elias said simply. "Yes," the eldest replied, "because you hold what it cannot control. But it will not stay silent much longer." "Then let me face it," Elias said. Murmurs spread through the chamber. "You are human," another elder said. "You have no lattice, no shared mind. You cannot stand against it alone." Elias lifted his chin. "I'm not alone. I have her." He glanced at Sarai and she nodded silently. The council chamber fell quiet. A soft hum spread through the floor. The ground beneath the city began to tremble. It was not violent but steady, like something breathing. The light in the hall dimmed for a moment. "The Vera is moving upward," an elder whispered. The eldest stood. "It has chosen its battlefield." They led Elias and Sarai through a spiral tunnel that went deep beneath the city. The walls shimmered with soft light, but the deeper they went, the more the air grew colder. Finally, they reached a wide, circular cavern. At its center was a dark pool that did not reflect the light. It wasn't water, it was something else. Something that seemed to pull at the edges of reality itself. Elias felt it immediately. The cold flame in his chest burned brighter. "This is where the Vera was born," Sarai whispered, "and where it has waited." The elders formed a circle around the pool. They began to hum softly, the Inari way of focusing their minds. But Elias stood in the center facing the darkness. The voice came then, not with sound but inside his head. "You carried me. You brought me here. I am home." Elias clenched his fists. "No, I carried your pain, not your will. You are weak, human, soft, easy to break." He took a deep breath. "Maybe. But humans don't break easily." The ground cracked softly around the pool as shadows rose like smoke. The Vera did not have a shape. It was made of whispers, memory, and fear. Faces appeared and vanished in its surface, fragments of thoughts it had devoured. Sarai reached for his hand. Their fingers touched. Their bond flared like warm light. The Vera recoiled for the first time. Elias smiled faintly. "Yeah, you don't like that, do you?" The elder's humming grew stronger, but it wasn't enough. The Vera began to stretch its shadowy limbs toward them. It wasn't attacking, it was trying to connect. To infect. Elias felt it push against his mind like cold hands reaching into his memories. He saw flashes of his childhood. The blue sky over the colony, his father laughing, his first day at the medical center. The Vera whispered, "Let me in." But something else pushed back. Sarai. Through the bond, her light shone like silver fire. Her memories touched his. Her first flight above her world. The songs of her people. The quiet gardens she loved as a child. Their memories mixed. And the Vera hissed inside his head. "You see?" Elias said softly, his voice echoing in the cavern. "We're not weak." The shadows rushed forward. Elias dropped to his knees, clutching his chest. The Vera tried to rise through him, to use him as a door. It burned cold inside him. But the bond grew brighter, wrapping around the darkness like a chain of light. He heard Sarai's voice in his head. "Don't fight alone." So he didn't. He let the bond open fully. For a moment, everything disappeared. The cavern, the elders, even his body. Elias found himself in a place of light and shadow. The Vera stood before him now as a massive, shapeless figure, made of whispers and old pain. Behind him, Sarai stood like a beam of light. Her presence was calm, strong, unshakable. The Vera spoke in 1,000 voices at once. "We will take you. We will take her. We will take them all." Elias stepped forward. "No, you're done taking. You are nothing," he grinned slightly. I'm human. That's enough. The Vera lunged. It tried to wrap around his mind, but he held his ground. He didn't fight with weapons. He fought with memory. He showed it the day he graduated as a healer, the night he saved a child for the first time, the quiet mornings at the sanctuary, and the moment he touched Sarai's forehead and chose to take her pain. Each memory was like a bright spark, and the Vera hissed at every light. Sarai stepped beside him, her light joining his. Together they filled the void with their shared moments. Soft, human, real. And for the first time, the Vera shook. Back in the cavern, the dark pool began to ripple violently. The elders struggled to hold their circle. The shadows twisted like a storm. Elias screamed, not in fear but in effort as the Vera pushed harder. For their bond was stronger. Why are you fighting? The Vera cried. You cannot kill what has no end. Elias stood tall in the light of their shared memories. Then I won't kill you. I'll change you. He let the bond flood the Vera completely. In an instant, the darkness was filled with something it had never known. Warmth, hope, human stubbornness. It tried to resist, but it was like trying to hold back a sunrise. The Vera howled inside his head, then slowly its shadows began to crack. Light seeped through, not a weapon's light. A light made of everything it had never been able to devour. Courage, kindness, and love. Sarai's hand tightened around his. Elias, it's working. The cavern trembled as the dark pool shrank slowly. The shadows peeled away like mist at dawn. For the first time in centuries, the Inari beneath the city felt the silence of freedom. When the last shadow faded, Elias fell to his knees, breathing hard. The pain inside him burned one last time, and then was gone. He felt light, empty, free. The elders lowered their heads. The oldest whispered, "It is over." Sarai knelt beside him, her silver hair falling like a curtain of light. She touched his face gently. You did it, she said softly. Elias laughed weakly. We did it. The bond between them still pulsed, but now it was quiet. No cold, no fear, just warmth. The council approached slowly, their faces changed. The cold pride of before had softened into respect. You have done what we could not, the eldest said. The Vera has been silenced. Elias shook his head. No, it's not silenced. It's learning. It felt something new today. It won't be the same again. The eldest bowed his head slightly. Then perhaps neither will we, Ace passed. The Inari world began to heal. The shadow beneath the city was gone. Their songs returned to the sky at night, and their rivers shone brighter than before. Elias walked through the silver gardens with Sarai. The stars were reflected in the glowing water. You're leaving soon, she said quietly. He nodded. My people need me. There are still others to help. She turned to him. But the bond, it will stay, he said gently, even across stars. I'll feel you always. She stepped closer, her eyes shimmering. You changed my world, he smiled softly. You changed me first. On the day of his departure, the Inari gathered in silence near the starport. The High Council gave him no medals, no words, and only a small glowing crystal. It was their way of saying thank you. Sarai stood in front of him, silver light all around her. She looked both strong and fragile, like starlight caught in human hands. You'll never be truly alone again, she said. He touched his chest where the bond pulsed faintly. I know. Then for the second time, she pressed her lips softly against his forehead, their way of sealing what was already unbreakable. The warmth spread through him like light through glass. He whispered, Goodbye. She smiled. Never goodbye. Only distance. The shuttle lifted slowly into the sky. Elias watched her grow smaller through the viewport, her silver hair glowing against the city's light. He felt the bond in his chest, soft and steady. Not a chain, a promise. The stars stretched before him like an open road. He was a healer, a human, small among the stars, but no longer just one. Because somewhere far behind, on a world of light, someone's heartbeat answered his. And that was enough to keep going.